Check 1, 2. Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Slight technical delay today. We apologize. We're going to move forward with the program, the reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita with our host Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California, in the middle of the mountains in a snowstorm. It's very cold here in Canada, so I've got my ski jacket on, despite the fact I'm in my house. We're reading from the Jaladuta diaries, and we're at the end of this. I think we are, yeah, pretty much. We're at the end of the first volume of the Jaladuta diary. Here we're going to read the following as an excerpt from a letter to Hanuman Prasad Podar, who was the head of the Gita Press, a prominent publishing house in India, which specializes in religious literature. Los Angeles, February 5th, 1970. To the Gita Press, Gorakhpur. My dear Baji Hanuman Prasad Podar. Guess we don't have the script. I did send over the photographs of the pages if you did receive them. Please accept my obeisances. I hope by this time you have received my acknowledgement dated yesterday for your letter dated 26th of January 1970. As you want to publish a comprehensive article about my activities in the Kali-yuga, I think it is proper to give you a short history of my coming to the Western world. Sometime in the year 1922, when I was acting as manager of Dr. Bose's Laboratory Limited, I was fortunate enough to meet my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Paribhakchakacharya, 108 Śrīmātī Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda. On the very first meeting with His Divine Grace, he asked me to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya in the Western world. At that time, I was a young man and a nationalist admirer of Mahatma Gandhi and C.R. Das. So I replied him at that time, who would care for the message of Lord Chaitanya while we are a subject nation, subjugated by the British? In this way, I had some argument with my spiritual master, and at the end, I was defeated. But at the time, because I was already married, I could not take his words very seriously. In this way, I passed on as a householder. But by the causeless mercy of my divine master, that order of preaching was impressed on my heart. I was initiated regularly in 1933 in Allahabad when Sri Malcolm Haley, the governor of UP, opened our Gaudiya Math branch there. Then in 1936, my spiritual master left this world, leaving a message for me that it would be better for me to preach in the English language. So I was thinking very seriously. And then as late as 1944, I started my project. So lots of time and preparation, you can see. Back to Godhead. Gradually in 1954, I retired from my family life, 54, and began to live alone in Mathura Vrindavan. He was staying at the Rādhārāṇī temple. In 1959, I was awarded sannyas by one of my godbrothers, His Holiness B.P. Keshava Maharaj, and then I began translating Srimad Bhagavatam in 1960 and perhaps in 1961. I was your guest in the Gita Bhagya. You were very kind to help me partially for publishing my first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam through the Dalmia Charitable Trust. With great difficulty, I then published the second and third volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam until 1965, when I prepared myself to come to this country with some books. With great difficulty, I was able to get the P form passed by the controller of foreign exchange. In some way or other, I reached Boston on the 17th of September, 1965. I was thinking while on board the ship Jaladuta why Krishna had brought me to this country. I knew that Western people are too much addicted to so many forbidden things, according to our Vedic conception of life. So, out of sentiment, I wrote a long poetry addressing Lord Krishna as to what was his purpose in bringing me to this country. At that time, I was sponsored by a friend's son, Gopal Agarwal, who is settled up in this country by marrying an American girl. Sally, I was their guest, and I feel very much obliged to Gopal and his wife Sally for their nice treatment and reception. I was with them for 3 weeks in Butler near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then I came to New York. I was getting some money by selling my Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, I was maintaining myself in New York. After some time, I rented one apartment at number 171st Street West, but after a few months, all my things, typewriter, tape recorder, books, were stolen. Then for some time, one of my students gave me shelter at the Bowery Street. So we'll read about this moving forward in the beginnings. Chapter 2 or volume 2 of the diaries. I then rented one storefront in an apartment at 26 2nd Avenue for $200 per month, but without any source of income. I started my classes, and sometimes on Sundays I used to chant Hare Krishna mantra in Tompkins Square Park from 3 to 5 p.m. During this time, all the young boys and girls used to gather around me. Sometimes poet Ginsberg would come to see me, and sometimes a reporter from the New York Times came to see me. In this way, the Hare Krishna mantra chanting became very popular on the Lower East Side. In this way, the younger generation became attracted, and gradually many branches were opened one after another. After New York, the next branch was opened in San Francisco, then in Montreal, then in Boston, and in Los Angeles. And now we have now the following centers in states: Canada, Europe, Japan, and Australia. So this ends the letter to Hanumanji, Hanuman Prasad Podar. So this ends this volume of the Jaladuta diary. And on Saturday, we'll move forward with the reading of the beginnings. Now we'll have our chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, the bhajan by Srila Prabhupada, and we'll have the class reading and discussion with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu on Chaitanya Charitamrita here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. Haribol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna tira banachari. Jamuna tira banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa. Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa. Jamuna tira banachari. Jamuna tira banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Sthitare Srismad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivācharya Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Mo Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Girivardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai की जाए, जमुना माई की जाए, गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए, और ग्लोरी टू द असम्बली, और ग्लोरी टू द असम्बली. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Mudirayat, Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we do every week, we will be reading a few verses from chapter 1 of the Adi Lila, explaining the benefit and the transcendental position of this exalted literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're going to be reading a few verses from chapter 1 Adi Lila, text number 18 forward. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text number 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenoyatma sat, etinera charana vandan tire morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grantera Rambi Kori Mangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana.
Reducing the risk of dementia looks like your signature.
In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text number 21. Tinera smaraneoi vigna vinashana, anayaseoi nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desire. Text number 22. Grant se mangala charanoi trivida prakar, vastu nirdesha shirvada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Hare Krishna. So it is very auspicious to read the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just recently, a devotee sent me a compilation of different statements by Srila Prabhupada about the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And before we start reading a few verses today, I was going to read some of this. This is from the introduction of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Prabhupada says, actually, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is not intended for the novice, for it is the postgraduate study of spiritual knowledge. Ideally, one begins with the Bhagavad Gita and advances through Srimad Bhagavatam to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Although all these great scriptures are on the same absolute level, for the sake of comparative study, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered to be on the highest platform. Every verse in it is perfectly composed. Next we have from Adi Lila, chapter 1, summary. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not belong to the mundane plane of the three qualitative modes. He belongs to the transcendental plane beyond the reach of the imperfect sense perception of a living being. Even the most erudite, mundane scholar cannot approach the transcendental plane unless he submits himself to transcendental sound with a receptive mood, for in that mood only can one realize the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What will be described herein, therefore, has nothing to do with the experimental thoughts created by the speculative habits of inert minds. The subject matter of this book is not a mental concoction, but a factual spiritual experience that one can realize only by accepting the line of disciplic succession described above. any deviation from that line will bewilder the reader's understanding of the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a transcendental literature meant for the postgraduate study of one who has realized all the Vedic literatures such as the Upanishads and Vedanta in their natural commentaries such as Śrīmad, Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita. Actually, if we go up in the beginning of this introduction, Venkat Prabhu, maybe you can go back up. I want to read this section. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than the combined form of Sri Radha and Krishna. He is the life of those devotees who strictly follow in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami are the two principal followers of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, who acted as the most confidential servitor of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Vishwambara in his early life. A direct disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami was Srila Raghunath Dasa Goswami. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, stands as the direct disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. The direct disciple of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who accepted Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti as his servitor. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur accepted Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, who initiated Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who in turn initiated Srila Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, the divine master of our humble self. Now, it's quite interesting as we go down this purport, if you can scroll down a little bit, Venkat Prabhu, what Prabhupada is explaining here that says any deviation from that line will bewilder the reader's understanding of the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a transcendental literature meant for the postgraduate study of one who has realized all the Vedic literature, such as the Upanishads and Vedanta, in their natural commentaries such as Śrīmad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So this is an explanation from Srila Prabhupada why many devotees become bewildered in their understanding of what is the disciplic succession, what is the proper understanding of the relationship of all these great acharyas following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and why some persons do not understand the real meaning of the disciplic succession. Prabhupada is explaining nicely here. Very important. Again, we will be reading today from chapter 4. Which text are we today? 132?
Text 132.
All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 132. Se premara Sri Radhika Parama Ashray, se premara Mioy Kevala Vishai, say that Premara of the love, Sri Radhika, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, Parama highest, Ashraya abode, say that Premara of the love, Ami I, Oi am, Kevala only, Vishaya object. Translation: Sri Radhika is the highest abode of that love, and I am its only object. Text 133. Vichaya jatiya shuka amara asvad, amaete koti guna ashrayara allad, Vishaya jatiya, relating to the object, sukha, happiness, Amara, my. Asvada, tasting. Ama oete, than me. Koti guna, 10 million times more. Ashrayera, of the abode. Allada, pleasure. Translation: I taste the bliss to which the object of love is entitled, but the pleasure of Radha, the abode of that love, is 10 million times greater. Text 134. Ashraya jatiya sukha poeti manadhai, yatne asvaditi nariki kariupai. Ashraya jatiya, relating to the abode. Sukha, happiness. Poete, to obtain. Mana, the mind. Dhaya, chases. Yatne, by effort. Asvadite, to taste. Nari, am unable. Ki, what? Kari, I do. Upaya, way. Translation: my mind races to taste the pleasure experienced by the abode, but I cannot taste it. Even by my best efforts, how may I taste it? Text 135. Kabhuyati premaro ashrai, tabeti premanandera anubhavai. Kabhu, sometimes. Yadi, if. This. Premara, of the love. Oye, I become. Ashraya, the abode. Tabe, then. This. Prema anandera, of the joy of love. Anubhava, experience. Hoy, there is. Translation: if sometimes I can be the abode of that love, only then may I taste its joy. Purport: Vishaya and Ashraya are two very significant words relating to the reciprocation between Krishna and his devotee. The devotee is called the Ashraya, and his beloved Krishna is called the Vishaya. Different ingredients are involved in the exchange of love between the Ashraya and Vishaya, which are known as Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, and Vyabhichari. Vibhava is divided into the two categories Alambana and Uddipana. Alambana may be further divided into Ashraya and Vishaya. In the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna, Rādhārāṇī is the Ashraya feature and Krishna the Vishaya. The transcendental consciousness of the Lord tells him, I am Krishna, and I experience pleasure as the Vishaya. The pleasure enjoyed by Rādhārāṇī, the Ashraya, is many times greater than the pleasure I feel. Therefore, to feel the pleasure of the Ashraya category, Lord Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmatī Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyayam Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataha Adadana Danter Idam Yachi Punah Punah Śrīmad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso asmi sarabata tat kripa pikshako nityam tat prishta shat karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here in this section of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj is explaining some very esoteric feelings of Lord Krishna and Rādhārāṇī. These are very elevated discussions, not easy to understand for so-called Vedantists, so-called logicians, grammarians, speculators, so-called philosophers and academics. Unless one is a practicing devotee, it is very difficult to understand these topics. We see in another part of Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Krishnadas Kaviraj gives a warning. Vaishnavera kriyera mudra nabhujaya. Even the most intelligent person cannot understand the activities of a pure Vaishnava. Now, this is a very important point, because we see, and we're actually seeing this now with some persons who claim to understand the position of Srila Prabhupada, who basically analyze the activities of Srila Prabhupada, his upbringing, his education in India, and they try to analyze some of Prabhupada's statements in his books, in some of his lectures, and some way or other they end up finding fault with the position of the exalted pure devotee. Now, a lot of this stems from poor fund of knowledge, from not understanding the position of the empowered Acharya, of the Shuddha Bhakta, the pure devotee. We saw some times back, Vishwakarma Prabhu was reading a section of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, where Prabhupada was describing the position of the Acharya as the Paramamsa Thakur, who is personally embracing Krishna. Now, this is not a cheap position. Nobody can just jump on a trampoline and start declaring himself as the sum total of all demigods and the most confidential devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It doesn't work that way. That is not the natural process given by our acharyas. The problem with jumping to conclusions about so-called controversial statements of Srila Prabhupada is unless one understands the fundamental position of a Nitya Siddha, of an eternally liberated soul who comes from the spiritual world on the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to deliver the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then one will be confused. Because what Prabhupada taught basically is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is not a literature for persons who either are envious or too materialistic. Very difficult for them to understand the position of this great literature. We see in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, our Shukadev Goswami is warning that these topics of Krishna's activities are very nectarian. But those, the Sanskrit word is given vina pashugnat, that those who are engaged in animal killing, these people cannot understand. There's also restriction that mental speculators, they cannot understand. The only way to understand the message, the confidential message of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and the statements of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada is to accept the authority of the Acharya. And by an attitude of service and surrender, then one will get the mercy by which one will understand. We've often discussed this point, how Srila Prabhupada was asked by one of these so-called senior devotees, but let's say senior devotee, what is the most important thing that he thought? And Prabhupada replied, Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyete Kashta Yartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha, from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, that only for those who have firm faith in the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master, the meaning and import of all the Vedic literatures is revealed. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna alludes to this in chapter 4, text 11, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Now, this is an important point. The question may come, well, how do we surrender? People are busy with so many activities, with family, wife, children, so many, various ways of functioning in the world. How do we function? How do we get that connection with Krishna? Through the mercy of the pure devotee, by the chanting of the Maha Mantra and hearing, submissive hearing of the message of the pure devotee. Then these statements of the pure devotee can be understood properly. Any statements, whether it is about women, about race, about the proper function of marriage, about the universe, about the creation, so many different categories of statements. Let us not forget what time we're living in. This is Kali-yuga. There are many atheistic, non-pious persons who are promoting different nonsensical agendas against God, against the authority of the scriptures, against the Vedic principles, Vedic literatures. There is one conversation, Prabhupada said, the more restriction you accept, the more advanced you become. And the less restriction you accept and you practice, the more animalistic you become. So this is a very important point. Very important one. One has to use his God-given intelligence to advance spiritually and some way or other understand the message of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'll leave it here to open the discussion to much more learned devotees like Balaram Prabhu and Dharma Bhavana and others. So kindly go ahead. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
That group, Dharma Bhavana, and we've got Paranjana and Balaram and Janaspriya on these calls, because this knowledge is a mystery for the non-devotee of Krishna. Excuse me. Yes, we'll move ahead with the various devotees we have in our group, Dharma Bhavana, Paranjana, Balaram, Janaspriya, who understand this philosophy based on years and years of experience practicing it. And this knowledge is a mystery for the non-devotee of Krishna. This knowledge is available to the sincere, humble servant of Srila Prabhupada. It is not an academic qualification. It is a devotional achievement for realization of this sacred process and literature. It is personal, just like consciousness is individual. We are only aware of the pains and pleasures of our own individual bodies. And in this way, the devotee is aware of his realization of his relationship with Guru and Krishna. Nobody else is necessarily capable of understanding that, although there may be symptoms. Dharma Bhavana, what are your views on this topic of the mystery of devotional service and how it can unfold for the devotee?
Hare Krishna, thank you. Well, definitely devotional service is a mystery. And what I understand from that, like that verse in the beginning of chapter 4, that Arjuna was Lord Krishna's friend and his devotee, and therefore he could understand the mystery of devotional service. But I would like to kind of ask another question that you may have covered a lot before, but I think is important, if it's all right. Because I think most of all your classes, or whatever we just have discussions, it's about 90% positive and maybe 10% negative, in order to help devotees understand things. But I'd like to read from a presentation or something that was written when Prabhupada was giving classes in San Francisco in 1967 and 68, to help us kind of understand how Prabhupada approached this. It says here, no, not yet, they reply. Govinda Dasi had decided to wait for the Swami's Gita to come out. The Swami complains about the impersonalist translations in nearly every lecture, and is continuously correcting them. He is more than annoyed at the brazen translators who wish to remove Krishna, the speaker of the Gita, from their useless translations. And then it's a little later on. The Swami says this Gita will expose all these mental speculators who take their own meaning onto the Gita. They use Krishna's eloquent poetry to promote their own opinions. So I was thinking the reason why this is important, at least to me, because like people ask this question, is that Prabhupada, he had his own way of starting the movement. And in a sense, we are restarting the whole thing right now. So we have also challenges of so many people all around the world have so many misconceptions. And if we don't kind of bring these up as part of our discussion, then it's not a complete discussion. That's how I see it. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, the fact of the matter is, this is the principle of spiritual understanding is called Guru Tattva, the correct connection with the bona fide spiritual master. And the bona fide spiritual master for all of us is Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And it's through his mercy that everyone can make advancement. And I thought it was very profound what Yaśodā read at the beginning of this class and discussion today, how Prabhupada is stressing this point. Any deviation from the line will bewilder the reader's understanding of the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is transcendental literature meant for the postgraduate study of one who has realized all the Vedic literatures, such as the Upanishads, Vedanta, and their natural commentaries, such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. This edition of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Chaitanya Charitamrita, is presented for the study of sincere scholars who are seeking the absolute truth. It is not the arrogant scholarship of a mental speculator, but a sincere effort to serve the order of a superior authority whose service is the life and soul of this humble servant. So Dharma Bhavana, it's so true. And when we read the diaries, we're getting a very relevant insight into Prabhupada's practical application of these principles in his daily life as recorded in his diaries and his conversations. So the question of bona fide is the essence of this discussion that you're bringing up, and how to achieve an understanding of the mystery of this literature. And it's only possible through service to the bona fide pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, which has become skewed by the interpretation of various ISKCON so-called gurus. Like recently, I sent a literature out to, or it's appeared on Facebook, which is the recent, it's going around again, this writing by Devamrita from originally from New Vrindavan. Now he's in Australia or New Zealand. And he's talking about the post-Prabhupada books. And we won't read it right now. It's quite, to be honest, very offensive. And it's a complete minimization of Prabhupada's work as a pure devotee. And his marvelous presentation of this mystery of Krishna consciousness through his writings and his preachings. But maybe Balaram in Australia, sitting there behind his desk, could share some insights on these subjects. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Yes, I'm shaking my head, Prabhu, when I hear that name mentioned, being here in Australia. Anyway, I won't go into any further on that, but I was just thinking that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, when he was describing in those first shlokas, there was he was saying that people think that Lord Chaitanya is part of he's just an ordinary person, part of the modes of material nature. Actually, that was stated there. And this is the thing, the whole material world, especially Kali-yuga, what we look at these days, it's the world's gone insane. I mean, even from the materialistic point of view, normal functioning of I was talking with Dvaipayana Prabhu this morning because we weren't sure whether the class was going to be coming on. It was coming on a little bit late, and I rang Dvaipayana Prabhu, and he was saying that when Prabhupada was in London, he was speaking with someone from the House of Lords, and he said he attended a meeting in the House of Lords. Maybe he can explain it a little bit later, but he said they were so gentlemanly. And Prabhupada was, he was a gentleman amongst gentlemen there, but he said the House of Commons was something else. And actually, these days we see that the whole material world, the political scene, it's gone crazy. And Krishna consciousness is all we have. It's all we have. Srila Prabhupada is all that we have. And the more that we hear from Srila Prabhupada, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, the more that we hear from Srila Prabhupada, what's the verse? Nasta prayashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya upadekshanti te gyanam gyaninas tattva. The more we hear from Srila Prabhupada, the pure Uttama Adhikari. We see that word Uttama Adhikari. Where's that come from? Tama is the mode of ignorance. Uttama is the one who's above the mode of ignorance. So this is Srila Prabhupada, and just like Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's instruction to Arjuna was Traigunya Vishayo Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. So the Vedas mainly deal with the three modes of material nature, but Krishna said to Arjuna, rise above these modes, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Arjuna, rise above these modes and be situated in the self. So this is the knowledge that is absolutely absent in the world today. You know, it's you can speak to the most so-called intelligent person, they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. I mean, we're reading here from the most exalted literature, which dealing with the absolute pastimes of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Even the religionists, they've got no conception apart from the fact that God is great somehow or other. And maybe he created everything at one time, but he's got nothing to do with it now. So, you know, this important spreading of the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. But basically, for us, it starts with Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has presented in such a systematic way how we understand this transcendental knowledge. Arjuna is there for us. He's displaying the so-called ignorance, attachment to family, attachment to the relatives, all of the material considerations. So Bhagavad Gita is just bringing Krishna through, halfway through, ninth chapter. Krishna after Arjuna has surrendered to Krishna, Sishyateham, he becomes a disciple. Now please instruct me. And then 9th chapter onwards, Krishna is explaining the most confidential secret knowledge. So we're so fortunate, and we can hear this from Srila Prabhupada every single day. And that is the way that we make advancement. Nityam Bhagavata, eternally, not just once, twice, whatever, but if we can structure our lives in that way, pass on that information to whoever we meet, introduce them, give them a book, spread Krishna consciousness. So that's all we can do in this very difficult age of Kali-yuga. So thank you for the association. Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Well, you know, the society is evolving in an animalistic way. And it's most apparent in the eating habits of the conditioned souls. In other words, even though vegetarianism has become popular at a certain level, overall people, especially in America, I was seeing a video you showed her very recently, in fact, yesterday, of the fellow that founded Facebook. And he's now opened a huge cattle ranch. And he's gone into production of meat, of animal slaughter. And it showed him sitting at a table with a big piece of steak. And he's bragging, oh, well, this will be the greatest steak. And he had some kind of, alcohol with it. So even though the person is very wealthy, multi-billions of dollars, and so powerful, Balaram, at the same time, Prabhupada said, it's simply sophisticated cat and dog life. That's what's happening. So the influence of Kali-yuga, thank you. So here you go. We'll refrain from speaking for fear of being censored. But here you go, everyone. You can see it. There it is. What else was he making there? Just pass it back up, Venkat. What was it? Oh, the meat and beer. What can we say? So when the intelligentsia, the aristocrats, are leading the way with their billions of dollars to provide this demoniac diet. And Prabhupada said, as we all know, I know all of you know this, that Prabhupada said the way you can stop war is to stop the slaughterhouse production of animal slaughter in Chicago. And that will end the wars throughout the world, because violence breeds violence. So the world is, in one sense, it doesn't appear to have changed much. Like for us, you and me, Balaram, we're from the 60s, okay? And in the 60s, just before we joined the movement, Dharma Bhavana, there was the Vietnam War. Serious war, very unfortunate. So many people died unnecessarily. And now here we are at 2023. We've got the war between the Palestinians and the Israelis. We've got the war which is a very serious war between Russia and Ukraine, and all the countries are all taking sides. And at any moment, Prabhupada said there could be the use of nuclear weapons, and the balance of nature will be completely disturbed. Okay, that's one side, especially if you're watching media. Now, if by chance you're watching a sporting event like soccer, or you're watching In America here, they have the football. Now, they had the national championships here for the college football in America on Monday, I believe. Didn't seem to be any trouble at all. It was totally sold out. People were spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands, to attend these games, and everybody's just carrying on like there's no end to the happiness. Look at the Taylor Swift concert. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Balaram. She is a billionairess from her concerts. She gave to her employees from this current tour, guess how much she gave them? I'm not going to make you guess because you couldn't know. $55 million to her support team. So, does it appear that things have changed? Well, the wars are going on, the animal slaughter is going on, the people are drinking. This world is an insane asylum. That's basically what it is. And Prabhupada stressed this point in a recent lecture. I want to give you, all of you, the Bhagavatam verse. It was in Honolulu in 1969. I'll get it and provide it on Saturday. But Prabhupada was saying, this world is a complete illusion and we're not part of it. We're spirit souls. So we're very blessed. That's basically the bottom line. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, could you further comment?
I see that somebody raised a question in the chat.
Yeah.
With regards to, I want to understand, how is Rādhārāṇī Lakshmi born? I mean, not on the earth, but in the spiritual world. And Ronald Singh commented, that question, what benefit does it give you? We should inquire according to our current state. This other devotee replied, what do you mean, what benefit? I want to understand if Rādhārāṇī is Krishna himself or born from Krishna like Bahama or Brahma. But if you have no answer, that's okay too. Well, first of all, in order to understand this kind of esoteric discussion about how Rādhārāṇī is born and what is Rādhārāṇī's position, what is the relationship between Rādhārāṇī and Krishna, there is a process. It's not that one can demand answers to these esoteric questions right away. Prabhupada explains all of this in his books. Just like in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, there are many explanations about the exalted position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Radha and Krishna. And he came to experience the loving ecstasy of Krishna, what the deep love that Krishna had for Rādhārāṇī. This is a very intimate subject. So in order to understand these complex subjects, one has to follow the process. If one does not follow the process of bhakti, the process of chanting, following the principles, following the sadhana, then this will just remain a mystery. This will just remain incomprehensible. Just like there's many people on the academic level, the scholarly level, especially in India, who study these various literatures of different sampradayas. Now, some of them are not practicing Vaishnavas. They're not practicing, they're just scholars, just studying the various literatures of these different sampradayas. Now, it can be very intellectually stimulating, but in order to understand fully and completely what is described, especially in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Prabhupada warns many times, want us to follow the process. Otherwise, it will simply become mental speculation. And mental speculation is definitely not advisable for one who is serious in spiritual life. It will lead to misunderstanding and many times to offensive conceptions. So this is, Prabhupada many times warned the devotees, not to try to jump to these kind of topics. The relationship between Radha and Krishna, the highest elevated the stages of Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. Prabhupada always advised that if you follow the process, gradually become liberated, gradually become free from the bodily conception of life, gradually these will be revealed to you, to any practitioner. So we appreciate any inquiry. That's very good, very nice. It's definitely a step better than just inquiring about mundane politics and mundane affairs, but one should follow the proper process. Otherwise, it'll become endless, inexplicable mental speculation. Hare Krishna.
Yes, it is a mystery, and it's only revealed to the devotee. Just like Arjuna, the mystery of Krishna consciousness, of who Krishna was revealed to him through his service and surrender. Krishna was testing him to serve under difficult circumstances. He wasn't asking him to win the war, he was asking him to serve, because the war had already been decided by Krishna. Janice Priya in Hawaii, how are you, Prabhu? Aloha, if I could say.
Hare Krishna, Haribol, aloha.
What does that
Yes,
exactly mean? What does that exactly mean?
Aloha
Hello?
is very close to namaste.
Oh,
If you study Hawaiian, ha is the breath of life, the breath of air, and alo is like I give you or I honor that breath of life. Very similar. Means hello, goodbye. So here in Hawaii, if you to a local, if you say aloha, they look at you like, how can you give me aloha? You don't even know me. They're kind of jealous about it, the use of the word. Anyhow, but I read that
yeah,
thing you published about Devil Mitra,
yes.
and
Devil
these
Mitra, did
people,
you say, or Devan
yes,
Rita?
I said Devil Mitra.
Thank you.
And
Oh, you're funny.
this we're talking about the Kirtanananda cartel. He initiated, I think, 8 sannyasis, and these
Yes.
are the worst apples in the barrel, as we know. And
Wow.
we don't need to go through the names, but these are the people that are creating a lot of the trouble that is going on Prabhupada's movement.
Well, Radhanath, Gopal Krishna are 2 of them. Devamrita's 3.
Yeah,
Go from
all
there.
of them are rotten apples. Why? Because they don't follow anybody that is not following Prabhupada's instructions. They're immediately disqualifies them. They should not be heard. We should not respect them in any way. Just Prabhupada says ignore them or unexpose them. So that's what we're trying to do. So if we don't follow, if one doesn't have implicit faith in Krishna and the spiritual master, he could not make any progress in Krishna consciousness. So they don't have any faith. They don't have any faith. Why? Because they trying to minimize Prabhupada. And why they're trying to minimize Prabhupada? Because that makes them look big. That's their point. If they saying that Prabhupada's books are antiquated and a lot of things he said don't apply to this day and blah, 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 it's simply because they want to look big, and if they make Prabhupada look small by saying that he was a writer for hire, when I heard that, I was like, God, I couldn't believe it. Just like when I was reading this Devil Mitra document that you published,
Yes.
my blood just started boiling, I just get agitated. So these people are so far off, they're so delusional. Why? All due to envy. They're simply envious of Srila Prabhupada. And kill guru, become guru. End of the story. Hare Krishna.
Well, I can understand why you get upset. And some people, they criticize us because we discuss this topic, like Dharma Bhavana brought it up. And, some people say, well, how come you talk about this? Well, we run a program here, and other people that are joining us in this program have a right to speak. And if they're going to bring up topics that we understand and they're looking for answers, are we not going to give them? How come you're giving them? Because that's our job. Let me say something to all of us here. Blasphemy of the pure devotee is a very serious offense, especially for his disciples. If you commit blasphemy, you commit spiritual suicide. Whether you're blaspheming the pure devotee or the disciples of the pure devotee that are protecting his legacy, it's still blasphemy. And one has to be very careful, because if you commit blasphemy, it's called the mad elephant offense. And you know what happens, Balaram, when the elephant marches through the garden? It crushes all the plants. So the plant of devotional life will be destroyed by blasphemy. It's a very, very serious issue. And everyone should, avoid blasphemy. I find it very, just like you, Jonas Priya, it really gets our blood boiling, doesn't it? And then you come up with this expression, Devalmrita, Nilash Dalal. I'm sure he has something he'd like to say or ask at today's discussion. In Miami, and okay, let me guess, you're in a car.
Yes.
Always on the move, young man.
Right.
Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes, I was just wanted to share a few things which I was in contact with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and Madhuva Prabhu over the few days in the past. Number one is, I think ISKCON, which is today, is as good as Gaudiya Math when ISKCON was young, and when a lot of disciples of Prabhupada went with him to India, and Prabhupada was in order to associate with God. Why did he tell us to do that? Is because the God brothers did not listen to their Guru Maharaj and were fighting amongst themselves to usurp the position of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Here in ISKCON, unlike Gaudiya Math, they did not fight amongst themselves, but they came to a common conclusion that we are all going to together usurp Srila Prabhupada's eminent position of the Acharya of ISKCON. So I think as Prabhupada gave us instructions about Gaudiya Math, we need to follow that with ISKCON also. And also is when I was sharing some emails, and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu can share more light on it, is that when we go to them and when we think we are having prasad, think again, are we really having prasad? Is the bhoga which is offered to the fake guru, when the fake guru takes it to Srila Prabhupada, will Srila Prabhupada accept it and take it in turn to Bhaktisiddhanta and that way reach Krishna? I don't think it will reach there at all. It will stop right at Prabhupada. So are we eating bhoga or are we eating prasad when we go there? And then the third point which I wanted to bring about is with Madhuva Prabhu, I went for some yoga studio for what you call some kirtan. And there were Prabhupada disciples who belonged to the Guru camp. Prabhupada disciples who started chanting the Mahamantra without Prabhupada Pranam Mantra and without chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra. So everybody thinks that they are chanting the holy name, the perfect holy name, where they are not committing any offenses, and that is why they don't need to sing Prabhupada Pranam Mantra. They don't want to sing the Panchatattva Pranam Mantra, and it is all seen that except one singer, nobody was singing, and we were so disgusted that we left. And why does our blood boil when we see these discrepancy coming about? Because a Vaishnava will never take offense to anybody who's offending himself, but a Vaishnava will definitely take a big offense if an offense is done to his spiritual master or to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why it is very natural for the reactions to occur, as the Prabhu said just before us from Hawaii, that his blood boils, and that is a normal reaction. But we need to take action accordingly and just avoid these people at all costs. I would love to know what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has to say to this.
Yashoda?
Well,
Prabhu?
there's a
Nanda.
very important point that you raised here, and the issue is, how does bhoga, or unoffered foodstuff, becomes prasadam, or foodstuff that has been offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Narasimha, Lord Radhakrishna? How does it happen? Well, Prabhupada prescribed a certain method to offer the bhoga to the deities. Of course, everybody knows it should be done with love and devotion. In the beginning, devotees in the 68, 69, there's different letters Prabhupada wrote of how he wanted the devotees to offer the bhoga. That you offer by offering obeisances to the spiritual master 3 times, by offering obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 3 times with the mantra Namo Mahabodhanyaya, and 3 times to Lord Krishna with the mantra or shloka Namo Brahmanya Devaya. You offer it, and then you wait for 10-15 minutes, then you may take the plate away. Now, what has happened to this movement several years after Prabhupada departed with this living guru concoction? They started to manufacture different interpretations, claiming that they were following the instructions from the Gaudiya Math or different sampradayas like the Ramanujas or the Madhvas. And frankly, it is not our position to criticize any other sampradaya or their practices or rituals, or what the Gaudiya Math does. Our concern is to follow what Srila Prabhupada meaning His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, what he taught. Because people will say, oh, Prabhupada said that we should follow the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Well, there's a lot of things Prabhupada said, but we don't find any record where Prabhupada told us to stop this practice of offering the bhoga in the manner that he taught, implemented, and practiced. That's to be understood. When people go beyond that and went to different neo-mats or different other advisors, that is their choice, but that is not what Prabhupada recommended. Whether they're eating prasadam or not is doubtful, because first of all, it's a deviation from Prabhupada's instruction. Prabhupada never instructed the current method that they are, and many of them are very confused. If you look at the puja manual from the Krishna Balaram temple, which is available on the internet, they have on one of those pages some idea that the guru and the disciple is offering to his guru, and afterwards the disciple and the guru are enjoying in Krishna Lila or Gaura Lila, some completely manufactured Sahajya concoction. Now, I don't have the exact text in front of me. I will read it, that's another point. But the point is, they've manufactured these interpretations all on account of this bogus idea that they're the living link and nobody can go to Prabhupada except through them, which is complete nonsense. If you, just like we read that portion of Caitanya-caritāmṛta today. Now, this is very important. Prabhupada was explaining that one who does not accept this disciplic succession as referred above will not be able to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is quite important. Prabhupada is warning. He's giving a warning because the word initiated in English has different connotations. Prabhupada is giving many explanations in his books, many explanations in various conversations and letters. And those people who claim that their physicality is the indispensable connection to Prabhupada, they have not understood the philosophy. Prabhupada taught us that Vani is more important than Vapu. What they're teaching is that their Vapu is more important than Prabhupada's Vani. We do not accept that. So whether they're reading Prasadam is very doubtful. And as for that kirtan that you mentioned, this is an example again of the characteristics of a deviated Apasampradaya. Disrespectful to the Acharya, disrespectful to Lord Chaitanya. What kind of kirtan is that? I've often criticized in these programs that Srila Prabhupada would be objecting to many kirtans when devotees would concoct something. We've seen this. Vishwakarma Prabhu, myself, Balaram Prabhu, we've directly experienced this. And we see in many of these temples, they have all these, I don't know where to get these, Jai Radhe, Jai Bolo, Sri Krishna Radhe, dancing like some gypsies with accordions or something. It's like, what is this? Why can't you just chant the way that Prabhupada taught us? Because they've lost the connection on account of disobedience. I'll leave it at that. So I hope it helps.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we're at the end of the program, and we're going to be having our class on Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can't come to the class, our classes are recorded on Hare Krishna YouTube. And we also have a extensive website that's being developed with over 2,300 articles on these subject matters. And we want to suggest you go to this website and research any kind of questions you have, or you can reach out to us personally. And we've also designed an oath of allegiance to the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association that we'll be reading online in the near future for you to see what our mission is. So we're not passive people. Just know that. And we're not fools either. If people think we are, that's their misunderstanding of our motive. And we are moving forward. And we are going to deal with these matters as best as we can. So all of you, we thank you for your support and participation with us. And our expanding Brahminical Council, which will also be dealing with these matters moving forward into the future. So there's a lot on the table to deal with. And if anybody's interested in knowing more about what we're doing, please get in touch with us. The emails and phone numbers are available through our online services anyway. And soon we'll have our invitation cards that you can hand out to people so that they can also join us at these programs. Let us move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna from his early years, Srila Prabhupada's early years in New York, I think. And we look forward to seeing you again on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaurabhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaurabhakta Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Hare Krishna.